You got probably another 5 minutes or so. So if you need to use the washroom, there's coffee, there's water at the back. I told them to bring donuts. They didn't bring donuts, but I know a few other people will be coming today, so maybe they'll bring donuts and chocolate bars and all that stuff too. So probably another 5 minutes. Thank you. Test one.
Check 1, 2. All right.
You can come over here. I don't
Hold
bite.
on.
I don't think. There you go. It's a well-oiled machine, people. Well-oiled.
That's right.
Yes. Very professional.
Well, hello, Calgary. How are you today? Yeah.
This is amazing. Like
Isn't it beautiful?
I didn't expect. I did expect there'd be this many people, but when you actually see it, it's amazing.
I know.
This
It feels so great.
Absolutely.
We're so happy that you're all here today with us to celebrate Alberta.
Absolutely. An independent Alberta.
An independent vote. Yeah. Woo. And we would like to welcome you all here to the Hotel Blackfoot for our first of 5 forum debates. They're brought to you by the Independence Party of Alberta.
And
Yes.
a little bit of tidbit here. The Independence Party is a grassroots party built by Albertans with no politicians at our table, believe it or not, who are committed to giving all Albertans the opportunity to achieve freedom and prosperity through a referendum for independence. The Independence Party is the only party in Alberta that has a policy to hold a referendum within the first year of being the majority elected party. And this party is more than just a political vehicle. It is the freedom movement that's happening right now.
That's right. So the provincial board and our dedicated volunteers have been working very hard this past year, building and growing this party and ensuring its integrity, transparency, honesty, and accountability is maintained from all who join and contribute. This is the party that was truly built by the people.
For the people.
That's right.
So just like Dana said, this is the first debate that's happening. We do this tonight. We do Olds tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. We do Edmonton on Sunday at 7 o'clock. And then we do Grand Prairie on Thursday, September 1st at 7 o'clock. And then Fort McLeod at 7 o'clock on Thursday, September 8th. So the first of 5. It'll be interesting because we have a whole list of questions. So every one of these debates is going to be completely different. So please, if you can attend, that would be great. If not, we're going to be doing it online too.
And tell your friends, tell your family, tell them to come because it's a new debate every day, every time.
So at this time, I'd like to call upon Bob Leon to start our event up with prayer. Is Bob here?
Bob. Oh, there he is. Oh, no, come. Thank you. Sorry. That's my husband, Bob Leon, everyone. Honey, you've just been voluntold.
Well, thank you for this honor of saying prayer before we open this celebration of humanity and of Albertans coming together for a great cause and a great movement. So I'd like to say a prayer, and God, if you can bless this room and this people in this province, in this journey we're on to reinstall our freedoms, prosperity, and dignity in this province that we call home. Watch over us, protect us, and guide us through this time we're in this great moment of bringing back love and peace to this province and building our community once again. Thank you, God.
Amen. All right. So my name is Dana Bleon. I am from Peace River, Alberta, which is 8 hours north. And
I'm Kerry Lambert, and I actually live in Calgary. So I guess between the two of us, we've got the rural and the urban thing going on here, right? So
and the entire province.
Covering all of Alberta. That's the idea anyways.
That's right. And we are your co-hosts this evening.
Thank you. Maybe just give a quick 30 seconds of who you are, and then I'll do that because I can talk for an hour.
Okay.
No, I won't though.
No,
Go ahead.
I could cut you off. So I'm Dana Bleon. I am a multi-purpose industry person. I worked in the oil field farming community. I'm a farmer's daughter. I'm also a musician and an artist. I work a lot in the music industry. That has been my career for the past 15 years, being a songwriter, as well as being an oil industry person, working with my husband with our own company selling drill bits to the oil industry. So it's been a very wonderful and up and down. It's always up and down, right? But it's given us such great gifts. So we're very blessed to be able to do what we're doing today because of that. So, and Bob and I dedicated the past year for sure, and a little bit more than that, to this cause of creating freedom and prosperity for our province. So, and you, Kerry.
And my name's Kerry Lambert, and I was a bar owner, and I was shut down because we actually took a stand on the mask mandates. Outlaws Tap House. I also own a jukebox and arcade games company, which obviously the government decided it was so closely aligned that with the VLTs that when they shut down the VLTs from November 26th of 2020 to June 15th of 2021, I had zero income. So this really got me, well, even more awake than I was at the time. And maybe you recognize me, maybe not. Chris Scott and I do, Chris Scott from the Whistle Stop, clap, clap, clap. Him and I do a podcast called The Chris and Kerry Show. I'm obviously the Kerry in that thing.
I'm not Chris.
No, you're definitely.
No, I'm not.
But Chris may show up. He's always late anyways. So.
Yes, he is.
So, yeah, and I got involved with the Independence Party, definitely over a year ago, when they really, the movement, I guess, started coming out and supporting our bar. And then we got to know, the political vehicle on how all this works. And, we were a part of the Alberta Prosperity Project. And that's great. That's a great educational vehicle. But we wanted to move over to something more political. So that's why we're here with
the political vehicle.
Yeah, exactly.
Will get us where we're going.
That's right. Yeah. So that's a little bit about us right now.
That's right. Thank you.
Do you want to introduce?
All right. And we are very excited today to have these two individuals, Catherine Kowalchuk and Archer Pulowski, our two candidates here. You can come on up.
You guys can come on up.
Come on up and grab a podium. And Kerry's going to explain how the format's going to go today.
I'm going to read all the dry, boring stuff, but essentially today's program will consist of the following format, because it is a debate. We will give each candidate 5 minutes for an introduction and opening statement because we're just assuming nobody knows who they are right now. We have a white card that shows 15 seconds. So when you have 15 seconds left, we will show that. And then when we will show the red card, that means hard stop. So
I think it's funny how you guys are trying to give us the rules when we are who we are.
They're not going to listen to them. No, that's okay.
My question would be, is that legal?
Ask Catherine.
And we will have a 30-minute question and answer session of 3 to 4 predetermined questions. And then we ask the candidates to please keep responses to 2 minutes each. And we'll alternate left and right, or male, female in this case too. And the opportunity for rebuttal for 2 minutes maximum each. So basically, we'll start with one, go to the other, and then we can go back for rebuttal. And honestly, if there is no rebuttal, that's totally fine too, because then we can ask more questions.
That's
right.
right. But rebuttal away if you choose.
Please.
Yes.
And we have a second set of questions. Will also be a 30-minute question and answer. Are we doing a break at all? Because I'm going to have to go to the washroom at some point.
If we feel that we need a break,
We'll ask.
We'll
We will
ask.
definitely ask that.
if not, we will just keep rocking and rolling.
And so we will do another 30-minute question and answer of 3 or 4 unknown questions chosen from any of the following: from the Leadership Contest Committee, from the Independence Party of Alberta membership, or from written questions from the audience. So I believe we have,
We got Peter walking around. Peter, hold your hand up there. He's walking
There
around
you
with
go.
some index cards,
do you have pens too?
and he has pens.
Do you have the Independence Party's pens? Those are good collectibles. Okay. And again, please keep the responses to 2 minutes each. And then we will close with 5 minutes closing remarks by each candidate. And we're aiming to be done by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, so please buckle up for safety. 9 p.m.
And after you have done writing out your question on your cue card, just hold it up, and Peter will come and grab it.
And please be legible. I'm also a karaoke host, and you can well imagine what I read at 11 o'clock at night, chicken scratch, right? So, yeah.
Okay. So before we begin, are you done?
I think I'm done.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So before we begin, for any of you who would like to purchase a membership, we have membership for sale at the back table. And we also have 6-foot-long Independence Party banners for your fence, right? So when people drive by
Put them
your
on the
place,
side of your car.
well, it'd be a little floppy,
That's
but
okay.
you can go
That's
for
all
it
right.
if you want. So we have them for sale. It's a part of a fundraising for the party. We also would welcome any donations either for the party, or if you'd like to also give donations to either one of the candidates for their campaign. We can arrange that. And we are live streaming. So say hello to the rest of Alberta.
Hello.
And the world.
Where can they go to live stream?
You can go to Facebook at AB Independence and join the group. You can also go to the the Independence Party of Alberta YouTube channel, and it's there. So we have a group on Facebook. We also have the page, and we have YouTube. And I don't know, we're going to do whistle stop. I don't know. He's up here working.
If Chris
so.
shows up, we will do a Chris and Carrie show for the last 10 minutes or something like
Chris and
that.
Carrie. There you go.
I know we owe it to you. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So yes, we're live streaming. So go to our pages, like it, share it, tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody, because we want you to join us. And we also,
And the last thing, yes, I want to acknowledge all the volunteers and the amount of time and effort that it takes to put on this event. Never mind this event, but the remaining 4, and then the remaining 18,000 that we're going to do with all the MLAs when we're doing all this stuff too. So thank you so much. We can always use more volunteers, but for these, absolutely, thank you so much.
yes. All right.
So I guess we can sit down and put our
Our feet up.
our heads to the back of the audience
Yes.
here. We can go through these.
All right. Because
Okay.
you don't need to see our pretty faces
No, that's for
more.
sure.
All right.
So we start with this one? The whole thing, I guess?
Do it.
Okay. So this is, let's start with ladies first. Ladies first. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine
Yes?
with me.
Okay. So we're going to start with these questions. Some of them are longer than others, but that's okay. So 5 minutes. It's going to take me 5 minutes to write this, to say this. No, it's not. In October 2020, well, actually, yeah, you're right. 5 minutes. Sorry. I see what you're going with that. Yes, we're going to do the introduction. So, yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Carrie. We're going to start ladies first, and you will have 5 minutes to give an introduction and
Go.
go.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, everybody, for attending. I'm just amazed at this attendance. I'm happy to be here tonight with this debate. And, I got to speak louder. And this is going to be a great time for you to learn more about myself, more about Archer. Can you hear me? Yeah, everything is okay?
A little more about
Okay, and the independence movement.
We will give you more time for this.
Well, thank you. So, I've not always been a supporter of the independence movement. In fact, I haven't actually, up until about 8 months ago, given it too much thought. But I became aware of a solution that if we, as Albertans, were to hold a referendum on independence, that it would increase our leverage with our negotiations with Ottawa. We all know that Alberta has been fighting to get a fair electoral representation, fair equalization payment structure, less interference with matters within provincial jurisdiction, such as the production of our natural gas resources. And despite Ottawa always ignoring Alberta and implementing policies and regulations designed only to weaken Alberta, and as a result of the new attacks of the Albertans' rights and freedoms by Ottawa and the other legacy parties such as the NDP and the UCP, it is now necessary for Albertans to make a different political decision. A choice that is not about whether you're right or left-leaning, but a choice that is based in truth, values, and ethics. COVID-19 was a wake-up call for many of the world and in Alberta as well. Not only did all the governments find it justifiable to abrogate our rights and freedoms as set out in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in the Alberta Bill of Rights, without any corroborating evidence, I might add, they have become institutions that treat us, you and me, as subjects rather than citizens. This gaslighting, lies, manipulation, and complete disregard for Albertans must end. So I practiced family law for the last 20 years, and I've spent the majority of my career helping families navigate challenging circumstances, and we're all here today facing very challenging circumstances. I'm also a mother to 2 children, 10 and 14, and they're here today, and I'm a stepmom to 2 children as well who are ages 11 and 12. And it would be an understatement for me to say that I am terrified for their future. I'm terrified that they could be forced to take a medical procedure against their will. I'm terrified every day that they go to public school that they will be manipulated into thinking that men can become women and women can become men. I'm terrified thinking that they will be forced to live in a society where the government or private business requires them to scan their arm or provide their digital ID to buy groceries or attend a concert, and may punish them should they not comply. In December 2020, I co-founded Lawyers for Truth, and in July 2021, I commenced a legal charter challenge against the Court of Queen's Bench of Alberta and the Provincial Court of Alberta for violating my inalienable rights and freedoms by requiring me to wear a mask and provide private healthcare information to a stranger, no less, as a condition of me entering a public courthouse in Calgary. I've shared the rally stage with Pastor Art on many occasions the past 2 years. After months of reading decisions from the judges that were not for the people, and rather agreeing with the government narrative that they were justified and breaching our chartered rights and freedoms, I decided that it was time to pivot and to seek a political solution. I realized that all levels of government, executive, legislative, and judicial had failed us, and that we needed to change things for our children and our grandchildren. This is what led me to the Independence Party of Alberta, which advocates for a referendum on independence. But it's not only independence that I believe will bring this party more prosperity for Albertans. By electing an independence-focused government, and under my leadership, We will repeal laws that violate our rights and freedoms and enact laws that prevent employers and educational institutions from discriminating against anyone for any egregious reasons such as forced medical treatments or mandatory masking. I will hold an independent inquiry about the government's handling of the COVID-19 and hold those responsible both civilly and criminally. I will fire those in bureaucracy that have participated in this medical fraud and a lot more. I hope you enjoy the debate tonight.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Pastor Art, you have 5 minutes now.
I think we have a problem. Can you hear me well with that mic? You want to turn me up? You know what's going to happen. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming. I mean, first of all, it's a great privilege for me to be here in front of you and be able to share my heart with you, because I think that's what a politician was supposed to be, a servant of the people, for the people, and we've lost that. What really touched me already was that prayer. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, if this was UCP debate, we will have casualties already. There would be a number of dead people that we'll have to carry out, because that's something that we have not seen for a very long time. Elected people and people that want to be part of Albertans or Canadians' everyday life have been deprived of a simple concept of faith and believing in God. Since when it's somehow politically incorrect to pray? Since when we cannot say, I believe in God? Since when some people that think they are the rulers, they want to be pharaohs, tell me what I can or cannot believe and how I am allowed to express that belief? You see, I grew up behind the Iron Curtain, as you can, quickly tell, under the boots of the Soviets. In my country, we were not allowed to express our views. In our country, people were hiding. In my country, in Poland, clergymen were murdered, chopped to pieces, tortured for their faith. Not because they were villains, not because they did something crazy bad. They were not stealing money. They just wanted to believe in God. And I echo what you said about we're living in a society right now when our children are not being educated anymore, they're being indoctrinated. And that's why I love Alberta. Alberta still has a common sense, and I love to hang around with farmers and beef producers. I'll tell you why, because for them, I don't even have to explain that 2 cows will not produce a calf. I don't have to waste my time on biology. They know that. But here in our cities, sometimes the more diplomas you have on your wall, the dumber you're becoming. I mean, it's a shocker to me. I don't really fully understand that concept, because I would say that you're learning, so you should learn something. I mean, you've got this degree and that degree. But that's not the case, because we have lost common sense. We have lost the ability to actually teach our children what's right and what's wrong. We have kicked out our Bibles from the public square. We have kicked out 10 commandments from our justice system. Can you imagine? Thou shalt not murder. It's unacceptable right now. As you know, for my horrible crimes of being a pastor and for all the crazy things that I have been doing, daring to feed the homeless people, which I do for 23 years. I feed thousands of people, the most vulnerable on the streets of Calgary. I faced trial after trial, arrest after arrest. And I remember my latest one, 3 days, the Crown prosecutor would not accept the statement of facts that, yeah, I did it, I fed those people, let's move on to the merits of the case. No, we need to bring 9 witnesses that you actually did it. I did it. Let's move on to the merits of the case. No, 9 witnesses. I demand. Okay. So sitting there for 3 days listening to some nonsense. Yeah, I saw him there. Duh. I was there. Remember the first minute? I agree. I was there. I did this. And I remember those witnesses were asked, do you want to affirm or swear? And majority of them would say, we want to swear, but we're so sorry. There are no Bibles anymore because of COVID. But there was stack of papers everywhere, but Bible was not allowed. You see, we've lost something. And we have to go back to the foundation that built this nation great. And I have an idea that I will not like you. She's showing the 15 seconds, just...
Well, we knew this was going to be an issue.
Let's agree that this is illegal.
Thank you very much, Pastor Art.
I mean, the UCP can do it. We can come up with mandates and regulations.
Oh, I'm not going to go into what we saw last night. Forget that. Well, thank you very much for a little bit of insight into both of you and why you're here and what's going on. So let's start with predetermined questions here, as I began to, and I didn't. So again, we're going to start with Catherine. In October 2021, and in removing undecided responses, a Main Street poll showed that 47% of Albertans overall favored seeking independence. A similar poll in February of 2021 showed 25% overall. With the undecided removed from the counting, a total of 53% of Albertans want to stay, while 40% want to strike out on their own. Albertans favored independence. February 2021 independence polling was at 25%. We'll scratch that one out. Sorry to confuse you on that one. But basically, it's just that a total of 53% want to stay, 47 want to strike out on their own. So the question now is, do you believe that percentage to be higher or lower today? And what will you do to ensure that a much broader range of Albertans become aware of the many benefits of independence, as well as how important holding a referendum on independence is to ensuring that their voice is heard in Ottawa? You have 2 minutes.
Okay, well, the referendum is the line in the sand. We've been trying for decades, Albertans and previous governments, to get to the negotiating table and to open up the Constitution, and we've been unsuccessful, or the other governments have been unsuccessful. I think that percentage is actually higher, and I think it's going to get higher because I think we are all going to be facing more tyranny and government overreach like we've never seen before, and I think it's going to be quite imminent, in fact. And so I know this because I've been traveling for the last 8 months across the province of Alberta, and I've been speaking about the benefits of independence. And, should I be the leader, and even if not, I still intend on being part of the party for sure. And I intend to go out to continue my advocacy with respect to the message that independence is the only solution right now for Alberta. Everything else is just a waste of time. So I want to talk to community leaders, and mostly I want to talk to the people that aren't at the negotiating table, because my research across rural Alberta has led me to believe that, and I think Art has alluded to this already, that there's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom that doesn't make the negotiating table, and I think that's going to be important in moving Alberta forward and getting the solutions that we really need that won't be stifled by, predetermined government rhetoric already that exists out there. So meeting with everyday Albertans and continuing to do what we're doing, public speaking and getting the message out in whatever way we can. And I know that as we move forward, that Albertans are wise and that they will see the benefits of independence at the end of the day.
Thank you, Catherine. So the same question to you, Pastor Art, and just maybe ask as well as how important is holding a referendum on independence is to ensuring that their voice is heard in Ottawa?
Well, first of all, we have to ask ourselves a question: what is independence? If you really talk to an average person on the street, everyone wants to have his independence. I think what we have been observing for the past 3 years is fear, is terror. We have been terrorized. I mean, by the mainstream media, by the police, men in uniform. At every corner that we turn ourselves in, we have been terrorized. There's fear everywhere. People are afraid. They're afraid that what if we separate, or if we gain our independence? Well, simple. Look at Quebec. They have their independence. We can have it as well. So if you talk to people and you explain to them, because they have been indoctrinated for a very long time, they will understand. Because deep inside, everyone wants to be free. Everyone wants to be blessed. Everyone wants to pass something beautiful to their children. And we have been robbed repeatedly. We are still being robbed by Ottawa. Everyone deep inside wants independence. We just have to explain to people what that really means. And referendum is a must. You have to give that voice back to the people. You have to. It can no longer be that few people dictate the rest of us how we are to live and how we are to die. That's unacceptable. That's not democracy. That's tyranny. Referendum is a must, and not just on the subject of independence. We need referendum on key issues that affect all of us, and not just us, our children as well. Why just few people over there that could be bribed, I don't know, decide on the future of my children? No way. Who do you think you are? We need our voice back. Referendum will give us that voice, and we have to educate or unbrainwash them. Amen to that.
Yeah, there's some brainwashing that needs to happening, but reverse. I think
Yes, you do have 2 minutes to expand on whatever you need to do. Yes, absolutely.
I completely agree with Art's perspective, and I think we'll be agreeing about a lot of things this evening.
Okay.
But from my perspective as well, it's going to be Ottawa that's going to have to convince us to stay. You know, we're done negotiating, and at some point, you know, we have to have healthy boundaries. And for far too long, Albertans have capitulated and said, you know what, I can't do it. It's corrupt. It's always going to be corrupt, and just accepted it. But we can't do this any longer. We don't have any more time to do this any longer. And it's going to be up to individuals like yourself who are who understand what's at stake here. And I do believe that we will be able to do it. And I do believe that over time, Albertans, as I said, will understand it. And Ottawa, as I said, will be begging us to stay.
Thank you.
Pastor Art, do you want to follow up on anything on there?
I got 2 minutes, too.
You got 2 minutes too?
You're very
I know.
generous.
We're going to go
2
back
minutes.
and forth like that, right?
Yeah, I agree that we need some brainwashing the right way as well. We have to educate people, and the time for sitting down at the table and negotiating, I think we passed that. We've tried it for 40, 50 years, and look at us today. The federal government hates us. It shows us at every corner that they don't value us. It's like a battered woman that has been raped repeatedly over and over again, and the husband comes home and steals everything, and then she has to take care of her children on her own. That's Ottawa and Alberta. We have been doing this for a very long time, and look at us today. Sometimes there must be a time when you say enough is enough, and who is going to do it? You need strong voice. You need a warrior type of a character that will say to those devils, enough is enough, not an inch.
Thank you very much. Okay, but we will now start with Archer and then follow up with Catherine. The second question, what will you do differently to guarantee that you or the Independence Party of Alberta does not abuse power as a provincial or national government?
Well, first of all, we have to elect judges. Where this idea came from that you can appoint an individual when you're in power, and that fella or a lady can spend their entire life until 150 years at the bench doing whatever they want. There is zero accountability. We need to bring back accountability to every level of government. We need to elect judges. with a term, not forever. 10 years maybe. You have to hammer this and make it doable, and it has to make sense. We have to get sheriffs. We can call them constitutional sheriffs, we can call them sheriffs, but people or an organization with feet, and RCMP has to go. This is one of the most corrupted it's a crime, actually, to have them around. They're like muscle for the biggest mafia, the federal government, right now doing whatever they want. Remember High River, remember the gun grab, remember what they have done. Everything they have done for the past few years is totally illegal. We need to bring accountability. We need to elect judges. We need to elect sheriffs. We need to bring check and balances back to every level of our government. We need to have recall. We have to have that power as individuals to be able to tell them, if you don't follow what you have promised, if you will not do, we have elected you because you told us you're going to do certain things. But you know how it goes. It's a revolving door. You elect them and they do whatever they want. This must stop.
Well, I happen to agree. I think judges need to be elected as well. I'm very disgusted with my profession as a lawyer, which this is kind of what drove me into politics. But I want to let you know that we've been developing policies with the Independence Party right now, and we've put forward some really great policies. One of the policies that the TIP party has is that I'm suggesting that we have an independent, nonpartisan board that will hold elected officials and bureaucrats accountable for their behavior, and that they will have annual reviews like any other person who has a job. And I think that's important, that these people are always on their toes, and if they misstep, then we get rid of them. We fire them and get rid of them. You know, I also believe that we have to get rid of the party whip. So I've advanced a policy that will be voted on in the policy convention that's going on right now, which will require that all MLAs will vote their conscience within the party, even with respect to budgetary matters, because that's where it counts, right? We all have to be united as individuals, but we also must be respectful of people's beliefs, and we also serve the constituents first. So that's very important to me. And I also support another policy that we've advanced, that any politician seeking a third term, a consecutive third term, needs to go to the same independent body for the scrutiny, and they have to justify why they should be allowed to run for a third term. And I think that that will go a long way in addressing these career politicians that become problematic over sometimes, right? So certainly a lot of change is needed, and it's going to take a lot of work, but we're going to do it.
Would you like to rebuttal that, or make some more
I'll
comments?
say amen to that.
Amen. Catherine, would you like to rebuttal that? With a hallelujah?
I have a feeling that we're going to agree on a lot of things.
I think you will. Absolutely you will.
All right. Well, that's great.
So we're going to go back to Catherine here. So this is one of those questions that we've been called conspiracy theorists for so long, and but we're actually seeing a lot of this come into play. So currently, in the state of Victoria in Australia, citizens are required to use digital IDs to enter public buildings and private shops. This UN WEF, World Economic Forum, global agenda is being implemented by Canadian provincial and federal governments. The federal government recently demonstrated what life would be like when the government seized assets and bank accounts of citizens they do not feel are complying. Question: how would you and an independent Alberta prevent digital ID and the social credit system from being enacted? What would you propose to ensure that this would never happen to Albertans under an Independence Party-led Alberta government?
Well, the short answer is that we have to create legislation to prevent it from ever happening, and then have stringent enforcement and penalties for people, governments, and private businesses even that go ahead and implement something like that. You know, I really believe that we have no freedom without privacy. And so, you know, we can't even stop regular privacy breaches and fraud breaches right now. And what makes us think that our governments, who have been tyrannizing us for the past, well, at least 2 years, more openly at least, that they should be trusted to implement something like this? You know, this is something that requires a government who's responsible to have a conversation with its citizens, because this is an ethical issue. I mean, this truly is an ethical issue, and I don't see anywhere anybody concerned about that in that sphere, in the current sphere of elected officials. And so we need to have this debate in society. I'm all for technology, but I'm not all for microchipping myself to get into a grocery store, and I don't want the government monitoring my purchases and chastising me, or worse, for giving $20 to the truckers.
Yeah.
You know, the government, when Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act, they abrogated their rights. They did not do what they were told, of course, and everybody seems to let them get away with it. But, you know, I really think it's going to be important in the new Alberta, with a new constitution for Alberta, that Section 1 of the Charter needs to be eliminated. That was the Trojan horse that allowed government to come between people, a person, and God, and that has to stop.
Pastoral?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that all of this is all about control. And let me suggest something to you, that anyone that wants to know what I do in my bed, or where I go for groceries, or where I travel, it must be a pervert. Why would the government want to know? Well, the answer is very simple, because they want to control you. They want to enslave you. The past 3 years have shown us that you cannot trust those individuals. They're not following law. They're actually gangsters. I have never seen a bigger mafia than right now. And that mafia has a little potato on the top over there in Ottawa doing absolutely crazy things because he doesn't even understand what's at stake, or maybe he does, and that's why he's doing it. So I want to thank John Carpe and Justice Center for challenging this already. You know, kudos to them that we have actually some lawyers that are willing to defend us in a court system. However, like I said before, I have very little hope in the so-called justice system right now, because it looks more that those individuals are political activists instead of judges. They're no longer judging us. They are forwarding the indoctrination that the government is telling them to do. Also, I would use a notwithstanding clause. I mean, we have the power under the Constitution. We can use it. Why not? Let's use everything at our disposal. Let's have a stick. You know, as a pastor, as a shepherd, I have a stick and a big staff, and I'm not afraid to use it.
You know,
There you go. Got to wait for it to turn to green. Can I just tweak that question just a little bit? So here we are talking about within Alberta,
Yeah.
and we can prevent things from happening. What happens if outside of Alberta, whether it's Canada or the US or some other nation, implements a digital ID and they will prevent us from dealing with them or visiting them? What would you do in that situation as a leader?
well, you know, we as a society, I think, have to figure out what it is that we are going to do. Okay, we know that the World Economic Forum, the UN, these globalist institutions are taking over the world, and they've infiltrated our governments. And so I think we have to decide whether or not we want to even do business with people who would do something like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having values and a benchmark by which that we govern ourselves and that we adhere to. I mean, I think we can all agree thou shalt not kill is a pretty good thing, right? And so what I've seen happening is that everything has become inverted, right? We are purportedly a Christian society. We purportedly believe in God. In fact, our laws our Constitution is founded on principles that recognize the supremacy of God. But I can tell you, for one, that I haven't taken a course in law school about what the heck that means. And do our laws makers actually cross-reference, and I say do the God sniff test with respect to this issue? Do our laws meet that threshold? You know, we have to, I think, level up as a society. We have strayed from our roots. And I don't think that it's wrong for a country to be principled in their values and beliefs and decide that they are not going to do business or trade or anything else with a country that violates human rights, if that is in fact occurring in that country.
Pastor, the same question.
Well, first of all, why would other nations or people would want to do business with Alberta? Well, because we will have something to offer. I'm telling you, Alberta is so rich, it's so beautiful. We could really, truly become the Saudi Arabia of North Continent. I'll tell you what happens when you prosper, and we can prosper. You see, we are a very prosperous province. However, everything we have is being stolen from us. And that's the truth. When we become prosperous again and we have control through independence, if it comes to our resources and the way we govern, I'm telling you, people will beg to do business with us. They will come back because we will be giving incentives to Texas. We're going to be giving incentives to big companies to come back and take the oil and refine it and make business with us. So like what we're doing right now as our government, we have hostile government towards our neighbors. And as a pastor, of course, as a Christian, we have to have good relationship with our neighbors. And that's what we would do. And I'm telling you, when you're prosperous, people come to you like bee to the honeys. That's just how it is. Everyone wants to be around someone that is successful and someone that prospers. Let's make Alberta prosperous again.
Okay, thank you very much. I think now we will move into our undetermined questions. So some of these have been selected, and we've got some here on the table that if anybody else wants to hand in a question, find Peter. He's walking around. Hold it up, and we will put it to the list and see if we can add it to our list here. Let's talk about what is your opinion on the role and relationship between church and state? And we are going to start with Archer, because you started last time, right? I think so. Yeah. Go ahead, Archer.
Well, I would say to the government, stay away from the church's business. You see, the problem we're having right now is people don't even understand what that means, the separation between the church and the state. Why was drafted? Why was implemented into the Constitution? What that means is simply means that the church can watch this elected representatives, servants, we call them, and keep an eye on them. What they're doing. Are you stealing? There's no better person than a good shepherd of God's people to check on people, to check if they're stealing or lying or doing all kinds of different things. So the government, through the propaganda, reversed that. And now the government is telling us that we have to stay at home and not get involved in politics. Well, let me ask you this question. Everything in politics is affecting you directly, and it's affecting your children. And those people are telling you you're not allowed to be part of that, that there is a separation between your faith and the government. No, it's not. The idea was that the government was to stay away from the church's affairs so they can actually practice their religious freedoms. That's what the whole thing was about. Now, the government is telling us how we are to believe, in what we are to believe, how we are to worship our God. So I say to them, stay away from the church's business, but we will be watching you closely.
Yeah, I agree with that it's government has to be independent. However, I think the way the government has in society has allowed the idea that God should not be part of what it is we do and how we govern, because it says so in our Constitution, for instance. I think that perhaps people have assumed that because there's this widely accepted notion of separation of church and state, that you can't actually work together and merge them. And because there is a synergy there. And I think that, in fact, is why we're in the state that we're in. See, everything has been inverted. If we are a Christian society, a Judeo-Christian society, and we believe that the Bible is something that we would refer to in order to determine what is right and wrong. And we look at the society right now and what's occurring and the decisions that are being made and how they're being made, it's inverted. And so you have to understand or question, well, what's behind that? This is bigger than us, I would submit. And so I think we need to make it clear, you can have government out of church. You need to have God in government.
We had a comment online, so I'm going to just ask this, and it's actually directed to you because you started this, but basically, what church art? Is it the Catholic, Anglican, or Muslim church, or any other church?
But you see, that's a tyrant talking. We are living in a democratic country. You want to believe in that, or you want to believe in something else, government should be out of your faith, out of your business. The government has no right to come to you as a free Canadian or free Albertan and dictate you that faith is wrong, but that faith is right. If you want that, move to Saudi Arabia or North Korea. There will be no faith there whatsoever, except in the crazy, maybe bigger potato, because we got a little one. So the thing is, I agree with you. The Charter of Rights and Freedom starts with the preamble, whereas Canada acknowledges the supremacy of God and the rule of law. But even if we were a secular society, it's still, do you know that the moment you right to worship your God, so freedom of religion goes, do you know, historically speaking, every other right disappears? Do you know that? You don't have to believe me. That's why I'm so passionate about history, because history is teaching us so many things, not to make those types of mistakes. The moment freedom of religion goes, all the other rights go as well. It's just a matter of time. So fight for your freedom of religion if you value all other rights. Because under that system, no one is forcing you to believe. You want to believe in a tree as God? Be my guest. I think it's foolish, but hey. If you want to believe in cows as gods, I really like Alberta beef as a AAA steak. But that's me. But I'm not going to hunt anybody else for, having a different opinion.
That's right.
Well, exactly. I mean, part of what I believe is that you're free to believe whatever you want. And that's what I grew up believing anyway. I mean, I think that's what many Canadians grew up believing. And so, but I do think that we have to have this conversation and understand as a society, we have to have a basic foundation of where our values are and where we derive them from. Otherwise, you have a situation where men become women and women become men. So at some point, we as a society have to determine the values. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with having like a benchmark or a way to determine what those might be. But certainly you have the right, in my opinion, to believe what you want to believe. And that should remain your right always. I mean, we're told right now that what we are to believe. We are told what we are to say. We're censored if we say it. We're canceled if we say it. We're vilified. We're fined. We're thrown in jail. This type of behavior is so obvious as the mask on your face.
That's right.
Okay. I'll go on to this one.
Yeah.
Sure.
Actually, do you want me to do that?
Go for it.
Okay, there we go. So, what's your position on other independence-focused political organizations? And I guess having seen the UCP debate last night, they were actually trying to skew them more towards independence, but of course we know the UCP actually can't go that way. But what's your position on other independence-focused political organizations? And as leader, will you work to bring those other groups together? And Catherine starts.
Yes. I'm just kidding. Yeah, of course. I think right now the independence movement, I think people are waking up to this, right? And I understand that there are other independence-minded organizations. One I know for sure, Alberta Advantage, has built in their constitution a no merger clause. And WIPA, the Wild Rose Independence Party, well, I think they're struggling a little bit right now from what I can tell and what occurred. Rob Anders is agreeing with me. So anyway. But look we do need to come together. We, as individuals, we do need to come together. And I happen to know that the Independence Party of Alberta Leadership Board has made many attempts to do this over the last year for sure. And more specifically in May, a letter was sent to the Wild Rose Independence Party offering us to all come together. And what the Independence Party at that time required were three things. One, a commitment to hold the referendum question within a year of forming government, because we believe if we are elected as forming the majority of the government, that we have the moral authority to go ahead and hold that referendum. We don't have to wait for a couple of years like some other people are suggesting. The second thing that we wanted was to elect a new board. The third thing we wanted was to elect a new leader. And I think those are all three reasonable requests when you're merging parties together. In any event, I think there's still opportunity, right? Because like I said, as things get a little bit more difficult for Albertans as this year rolls forward, I think people are going to see clearly, and I think that they're going to want to stop the ego and all of that stuff, and I think we're going to be able to come together.
Thank you, Catherine. Pastoral?
First of all, how do predators hunt? For the past 3 years, we have seen predators scaring or terrorizing the herd, us, to separate us, to isolate us, to hurt us, so we can become an easy target. This is not, and let me repeat this again, this is not the time for divisions anymore. We know who the snakes are, and don't kid yourself. They are snakes, and you can pick the party. Let's say the Liberals are the snakes, the NDPs are the vipers, and the UCP are the scorpions. They're all the same. And people come to me and say, you're splitting the vote. No, we're building something from the grass up. We're building a new, solid, good foundation. At this moment, forget about the snakes, the vipers, and the scorpions. Maybe they will have a revelation, and they will come to their senses. But this moment, they want to hurt you. They have proven for the past 3 years that they don't have any, best interest for you or your families. They're predators. And they're using their power, their ability to hurt, not to build, not to bless. So this is a time when we have to come together and say, I don't have to like you. I like you, but I don't have to. I don't have to agree with you. You drink your coffee black? Well, you're not a racist. And when I drink my coffee white, I'm not a racist either. I just like my coffee different than you. What happened with us when we can't agree to disagree? We have to come to the table. We have to hammer something powerful. We have to build from the grassroots up.
Did you want to make any more comments?
No, I'm good.
You're good? She's good? And
I'm
She is
too.
good.
okay, good.
Very
So we're
good.
going to do some questions from the floor now.
Yeah. Here's an interesting one. How are you going to hold the media responsible for investigating and reporting the truth?
Well, first of all, they're not reporters anymore. They're cooks. They're cooking stuff up. And let me just say something to you. Whatever they're serving you, don't eat. Please. It's poisonous. Don't eat. They're not reporters anymore. They're not reporting anything. They're fake news. They're fake media. Pick your choice. Just don't eat anything they're serving. They're horrible cooks. So what you need to do, you need to bring alternative. You have to give a platform. And I really like what happened in the United States of America, where the president was having his own platform, telling from the beginning of the scrum, the media scrum, to the end, letting people ask the questions, and he broadcasted that for the people that were interested in the truth, because we're dealing with some that don't care. You can give them the truth, but they refuse to eat. They prefer the bugs, worms, and the crickets. But if you like me, and you like your AAA Alberta steak, fettuccine Alfredo, and garlic toast, then you have to give alternatives. So we have to form either our own media that will be accountable to the people. Right now they can lie, they can say whatever defamatory thing about you, and they can get away with the murder. There is zero accountability. You see, because you got to understand, we're dealing with all the 7 mountains of influence that we have lost. We've lost the media, we've lost the entertainment. They are saying whatever they want, and the government backs them up, and they back the corrupted government. They're all in this together. The 3 years have shown us they're no different. We have to change that. We have to make them accountable. And it starts with the government. If the government or government officials are going to be held to account, I'm telling you, everything else will follow.
Catherine.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think we really just have to keep pounding the message. First of all, we have to cut funding wherever possible to the extent we're able to, right? But we do have to develop our own sources. And the alternative news is growing at a rapid race. That's where I get almost all of my stuff from these days, and have for a long, long time. And I haven't watched actually television for over 15 years, which I think might have something to do with the conclusions that I draw. And I encourage everybody to maybe try that as well. But at the end of the day, I really believe that when you have leaders in government that speak the truth over and over again, and speak more truth, and tell the people exactly what has happened. When I first came into all of this knowledge, it was shocking to me to learn how absolutely corrupt our governments were, how absolutely corrupt Big Pharma was, our food industry, blah, 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 media, everything. But you know what? I got over it. And I was able to deal with it. And you know what? And it led me to you guys. COVID, the blessing of COVID was that I was able to integrate my life in what I believed with people around Alberta, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So we need to be truthful to people, and we need to not apologize for that. And we need to just continue to speak the truth at every moment possible.
Let me add to this. we need accountability, and there has to be some form of penalty when there is a willful propaganda, because that's what we have been observing in the past few years. In a sense, I agree with you that the COVID lie was a blessing, because for the past 3 years, they were doing everything in their power to mask us up, but at the same time, they took their masks down. Now we know who is who in the zoo. Now we know the villains. We can connect the dots. We can see their faces. And there has to be accountability. When a media outlet willfully lies about you, there must be some way to penalize this. I mean, if they do an honest mistake, of course, we are against, censorship. I mean, we are censored left and right. That's the domain for little potato Justin Trudeau Castro. But for us, we don't want to do the same thing. We want to give people their right to express themselves, even if they believe differently. However, if they willfully lie, if they promote lie that hurts other people, well, I have a problem with that.
And I couldn't agree more. And I think that one of the things that I've already talked about with doing the COVID independent inquiry, a really thorough analysis exactly who did what and to what extent, these people will be held criminally and civilly liable on some level, because we cannot, as a society, move on. We cannot heal as a society unless we hold these people accountable. Right?
That's
so
right.
They have to be held accountable. So the media will all form part of it, because anybody who did this, and you know who you are, we're going to come for you.
So I have a question from the floor, and it's definitely a question you won't hear on Global or CTV or any other mainstream media. What will you do for vaccine-injured people who are being denied compensation or treatments, and for non-vaxxed being denied treatments? Catherine.
Well, first of all, it just absolutely breaks my heart that this is actually occurring. And, there's always a part of me that's thinking, I don't want to be right about this. I don't want to be right. I don't want to believe ultimately that this could actually be occurring. But I think, ultimately we need to help these people, and we need to have the compassion. We need to provide them with the resources. And if initially government has to do that, we need to be that support for these people. However, the people who did this need to pay for that. Right? You don't, as Big Pharma, get to have a clause in all of these government, clauses in contracts that keep you what's the word? Safe from liability, immune from liabilities. Thank you. Somebody's mouthing the words for me. Immune from liability. You don't get that if you've committed fraud.
Yeah.
Or a crime, for that matter.
Recompensation is a must. I mean, we can't expect people to move on with their lives if they're not able to move on with their lives. And I think that's the job of the government official, to look after everyone, even those that made a mistake. Because I'm telling you, we all did. At one time or another, we made mistakes. We will be making mistakes. And if we win as a government, we're going to make mistakes. So that's where forgiveness comes into the picture. We have to look at this and say, hey, we were warning you about this, but you have chosen otherwise. But now it is what it is. We're going to help you. We're not going to leave you dry out there to die. We're going to do everything in our power that you can move on with your life. And I agree with you. Every person that did this to us should be held accountable. Every person. I mean, the Nuremberg trial, the beautiful thing about Nuremberg trial, and they understood that they cannot just take, 100,000 Nazis and charge them. That was impossible. But they have chosen the main characters that they could find. We have main characters that we can go after. Jason Kenney, the traitor of Alberta. That's the first one. Travis Taves, that snake that was part of the hypocrisy in the Sky Palace. By the way, if I was ever to be elected as your representative, I would turn the Sky Palace symbol of tyranny into art gallery.
How about a library
Give it back to
of
the
real
people.
history?
Give it
Library
back-
for real history.
You know, give it back to the people. Let the kids come up and enjoy that, because you see, here is the problem that we are witnessing right now. Those people, they truly think they're the pharaohs and you are the slaves. And that has to change. It always was. You know why we call them ministers? Because they were supposed to serve people.
Catherine?
I got the red card, so I had to stop. She scares me. It scares me.
No? She starts?
I'm surprised we're following that rule, actually. We have 4 more debates. Who knows where it's going to go?
That's right. All right. We have another question from the floor here. And Archer, you'll be the first one to answer this. Do you have a plan to include Alberta people in decisions that affect them other than control from the top?
Referendums. Let's give back direct democracy back to the people. Let them make those decisions. Why we have this idea right now in the 21st century that a few elected officials have to make all those tough decisions that affect the rest of us? How about we do referendum once a year on key topics? Why not? I mean, what is stopping us from giving back the voice back to the people that are being affected by those laws? It's beyond me. I don't understand. A few people have been literally murdering us for the past 3 years, and there was nothing we could do about it. That must change. So direct democracy, also town halls. When was the last time you could see the Premier of Alberta? My goodness, lying on TV or cooking with the cooks, something else. But when was the last time you could actually sit down with a man and ask him tough questions? No, they're cowards, they're predators, and they're hiding. We need to bring back town halls once a week, sit down with the MLA once a week, or, twice a month, sit down with the Premier. Ask the tough questions. Face me. Tell me what's in your heart. But you see, when a man has nothing to hide, he has no problem to have a coffee with those people that have elected him. But when you have something to hide, you're terrified of the people. Is that not what we're seeing right now? They are afraid. They're terrified. Why? Because they're the tyrants. They are the dictators. They are the wannabe pharaohs. And that must change. And we can change that. You can change that.
Well, again, I agree. And I agree with that. But, I think what I'm hoping for is that we're going to create a society where the responsibility is actually not the government's for much of quite anything, right? Like, I think we're over-regulated and all this rest of it. But I think that we need everybody, all the individuals here, to take back their responsibility. It's not something that the government has assumed that role, and for far too long, myself included, have participated in that, accepting, not participating, right? So we also have to lead by example. And I often say when I speak, when we know better, we do better, and it's not too late. We can all, now that we know what is going on, we now need to make different decisions, right? And so I agree, we need to open up the bridges of communication, get as much feedback as possible, and the referendum is a really good idea. And who knows? If we can build the trust of the people, maybe you even go a step further. Maybe it's something that everybody gets to vote on everything, all the time. But you know what? We're a long way from that, because a lot of people, sadly, don't actually want to participate. And we're seeing that as well. They just want to be told what to do. But you know what? We can change that. We can change that by leading by example and then having these conversations with people, industry, and making sure, certainly, it's not just the people, but it's the corporations as well. And changing the culture within these corporations, because we spend so much time in these institutions. Thank you.
I don't feel so bad anymore. She got the red card too, so I feel a lot, but thank you. It was like a gift. As a pastor, of course, I deal with a lot of drama, and especially now adverse reactions to the jobs and people depressed, suicidal. I mean, the remedy, in quote, has done so much harm to Albertans, to Canadians, that is unbelievable. We had, 3.5% of a total death toll in Canada was because of suicide. Can you imagine the highest numbers ever in this country? But having said that, I want to also say something. The government's job, or the pastor's job, is not to change your Pampers. If you're still wearing your Pampers, change them by yourself, please. And the government's job is not to mingle in people's business, not to mingle in your bed, not to be this nanny state that wants to have control about everything that you're doing. No, it should be smaller government. Government actually takes care of infrastructure and all other things. There's plenty for them to do. Get away from our business. Get away from our children. Get away from our lives. We are adults. I can govern myself accordingly.
Most of the time.
Depends who you're talking to. If you're talking to Crown Prosecutor, well, he will have a different opinion.
Yeah. I'm good.
Right. So we're going to ask a question about healthcare. How would you deal with the current healthcare system under an Independence Party-led Alberta? What would you remove, or what would you add, Catherine?
Well, look, I'm not an expert in healthcare, but I certainly know that, when we need to do something, and it's going to start with getting rid of all the top end bureaucracy that has caused this crap. Like, first of all, that has to go, and we need AHS, for instance. We need to sever that tie with the World Health Organization immediately. But in addition to that, I mean, we need to really look at this, because the College of Physicians and Surgeons has caused some problems for us, right? Especially the doctors, nurses, and frontline workers that were coerced and compelled to take this jab and wear a mask and do all the rest of this thing against their will. And so I do want to open up this legislation, and not only with the college, but with my profession as well, because what they've done, it's the collective punishment. And this kind of authority that they've abrogated needs to end. And so that legislation that gives them the authority to do what they did and how they've treated their doctors and the nurses and professionals needs to change, right? And we also, I think, as a society, need to shift and pivot from this big pharma dictated way of life. And we need to embrace holistic alternatives, and we need to make that part of our healthcare. We need to do preventative, and we need to move away from this pharmaceutical Rockefeller medicine cartel that we're now part of.
Well, first of all, we have to acknowledge that the unions have failed our frontline workers. Police officers have been betrayed by the unions. Healthcare workers, firefighters have been betrayed by the people that swore to protect them. While the accountability has to come back. Also, what we're doing right now with our healthcare system is not a system of prevention, but it's the biggest drug push I have ever seen in my life. And I deal with drug dealers on the streets for many years. When I was in jail, and I know that's kind of funny, you have a candidate that just came out of prison for having a sermon in Quds. When I was there, do you know, every single day, because I had idea, you see, I have never been criminally convicted. I never served time. Everything that they've done to me was to stand up for your rights, to stand up for Alberta, to stand up for Canada, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the Constitution. I did that because I grew up in hell on earth under the boots of the Soviets behind the Iron Curtain, and I'm afraid for my children. I don't want them ever to experience what I had to go through. That's why I stood up and I said, if I don't stand up, okay, it's okay not to stand up for yourself, but we have to. We have to stand up for our children, for the future of this country. When I was in jail, I had this idea of prison, and I thought the biggest drug pushers are the gangsters, tattooed people, right? But every single day I was approached, and other inmates, by the guards and the nurses. Every day we were offered fentanyl, cocaine. Every single day in Edmonton and Calgary, we were offered drugs. That needs to change. We can't deal with this problem by pushing drugs on people that cause other problems. I got the red card.
That's two.
Lawyers, don't you love them? She's counting.
Okay, I got the green. So here we go. We have another one off of the floor. It seems like in our world, people appear to be so divided with gender wars, color wars, and of course, division of people due to COVID and personal stances. As the leader of the party, how will you promote a way to reconnect Albertans to love each other again?
Well, we have bigger fish to fry than what you do in your bed. I have been saying this since I remember, since probably the Second World War. So we have to focus on what's really important. I'm not saying that your problems are not important, but on a bigger scale, we have to unite under the umbrella of freedom, under the umbrella of Canadian flag. And that was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen in this country since I emigrated here in 1995. There was my participation in a truck convoy. Here's what I saw over there. I saw different colors, different genders. I saw transgender, I saw homosexuals, I saw heterosexuals, I saw Punjabis, I saw people with turbans and without them. I saw young and old, children with their puppies and their cats. I saw everyone loving each other. You see, what united us those days was freedom for our children and Canadian flag. We can do this. We can do this together. Let's not be petty. Let's not look at, I don't like you because you drink your coffee white. You must be a racist. No, I just have different preferences. Let's not make this a big issue. Let's move what's really important. No one is stopping. A government should never stop you from exercising your rights under the law. But they have been doing this for the past 3 years. They infringed on everything, from who you can see and with whom you can have that coffee. It doesn't matter if it's black or white. That needs to stop. So let's focus, people, let's focus on the essentials. We are being eaten by a very big, hungry, corrupted fish. If we don't come together, we're going to be destroyed.
Well, you know, this plan to divide people is a plan, right? And so if you're gay or straight, you're black or white, you're male, female, or whatever you might be, you know, this plan has been around for a long time. But the thing is, you know, like, I'm a recovered alcoholic of 12 years. And one of the reasons why I drank was because I didn't have a purpose. And I felt lost and I felt disconnected from people, right? And so I call it the hole in the soul disease. And I think that's kind of where we are en masse as a society right now. right? We're not connected in the way that we need to be connected. And so we have to make this concerted effort. And then it comes back to personal responsibility, because I can't force you out of your house. I mean, I was forced in my house for 2 years, and that wasn't very nice. But we need to bring people together and bring that connection back together. But most importantly, and Pastor Art has said this earlier, we need to lead by example, and we need to be forgiving. But that doesn't mean that we don't have justice. You know, I often say to my family law clients, we're gonna negotiate, and we'll see where this goes. But make no mistake, we're not doormats. And so I think that we lead by example, and you vote for a government that reflects your values ultimately. This whole thing about voter splitting, that's fear porn, and that's designed to make you do the exact same thing you've always done. It's a psyop.
That's right.
I was very hopeful. I saw the red card almost coming, and you stopped. That was not fair. Next time.
So this will be the last question. Then we're going to do 5 minutes of a closing statement from each. So this one is again from the floor, and I'm going to read the entire part here. What is your plan for restructuring the school systems so our children get back to learning instead of being groomed and indoctrinated? Yours truly, a forcibly retired school teacher. So,
Well, I mean, I think we have to relook at education. Like I don't want my kids in public education, so it has to be completely reformed, I believe. And we have to only in school teach basic things like reading, math, writing. It's not the school's job to teach the children anything else, in my opinion.
Yeah.
None of this stuff that is being taught right now about puberty blockers and all the rest of it, secret societies for people under the guise that the parents aren't getting it. We need to restore parental rights, but also we need to support families who want to do things and have an alternative way of learning. School is our institutions are a method of indoctrination. That's all they are. Standardized testing, all of it. And so we need to be open to different systems, homeschooling, pod learning. And this is happening right now. I know people in communities, a good friend of mine, a lawyer, hired a teacher, started up her own school, like Little House on the Prairie, grades 1 to 12, and taught school. That's the kind of stuff that we need to get back to. And we need to give these children real life experience. I need to learn how to can. I do. We all need to learn how to can. So we need to have a different approach in how we do this. But make no mistake, this is all a plan. This is all done by design. But with an independence-minded government, things can be so much different.
Can I start?
Well, I don't know about the can. I just spent 50 days in a can. That doesn't resonate with me at this moment. Maybe in the future.
Will this winter?
Education, that's an excellent question. It's a beautiful question because it's on my heart since I have children, which I have 3. And I remember my older son, Nathaniel, went to a public school because it was across the house, convenient way of just dropping the kids and not having to spend time to drive, back and forth. And he didn't last there for a very long time because I pulled out the Pulaski thing. And what I did when they started to indoctrinate him and not teaching him anything, just indoctrination after indoctrination, well, I yelled, I screamed, and I took him to a private school, which was hurting me at the time because it was very expensive and I could not afford. So I had to remortgage my house just to keep him there, because I was afraid that instead of teaching him history and biology, real biology, right? Like cow and a bull, like, I mean, the common stuff, right? Common sense stuff, that you can have children by having two calves. I mean, it's not going to happen. Just, a real biology and teaching real skill. I mean, my son, I have 3 children in the school system. They all went to a private school, a Christian private school, because in a public school, they were not teaching them anything of value. It was just indoctrination over and over again. So when I spent 4 months last year in the United States, I didn't just cruise around. I wanted to learn from Americans. You can learn a lot from your neighbors, believe me. That's why we need a good relationship with our neighbors. And they have homeschooling, and it works beautifully. And the parents have say what the children are learning. I'm going to get the red card again, so I have to stop.
You'll be able to do that again. Did you want to add anything?
No, I think we've.
So you want to give him another 2 minutes? Is that what you want to do?
Sure.
Here's what
There you
Go ahead.
2 hours later. So here's what I saw. It was incredible. They turned their churches into schools during the week. And that always bothered me. Why do we have such a huge, amazing facilities in our country and they're not being used for the whole week? Empty space. And I'm thinking, that's brilliant. Here in Alberta, we have the best teachers we can possibly have. Those are the teachers that lost their jobs because they were not willing to bow to tyranny. Let's hire them. Let them, the real teachers, teach our children science, mathematics, history, biology. I mean, I'm telling you, Hitler said those words. If you want the future, you have to indoctrinate the children. They went after the children. I grew up in a country where we were taught as children to call Stalin Dedushka Stalin, which in Russian means Grandpa Stalin. And then they said he was the savior of Europe. We were being indoctrinated at every corner. The history, everything was just indoctrination after indoctrination. So I know how that tastes. And I always wanted my children and your children to learn real stuff that will actually be useful when they grow up. How to open a bank account. Our children do not know how to open a bank account because they are not teaching them even those simple things in school. That needs to change. I got saved.
Okay, we will have our closing remarks now. So you have 5 minutes. You'll start, Pastor Archer, because, Catherine started last time with the opening remarks. So go ahead.
Well, you might say to yourself, why would you vote for a man like me? For the past 23 years, I put my boots to the ground. Since 1999, I started to feed the poor because I realized that just going to a church will not cut it. Just talking about love is not just words. Love is deeds. You have to put your money where your mouth is. That's why I am so disgusted with the justice system, with the political system, with the doctors that were supposed to save us and heal us, and the nurses that lied with a straight face, take the job, and no accountability whatsoever when something happens, and then more lies to cover up murder, because that's what it is. So I remember very early in my life, I wanted to do something for other people. And the only way I knew how to do it is to put my boots into the ground and just go to the places that no one else wanted to go. So we went to the ghettos in Calgary. And I have been hammered by corruption, corrupted mayors, corrupted uniformed police officers that would lie on the stand. I faced 16 arrests, 340 tickets, and over 100 court cases for just doing my job as a pastor. And I'm saying to myself, when I was in that solitary confinement in Remand Center, when they were putting me in metal cages like a dog, when they kept me without water and on concrete, when I was there, I was thinking to myself, what can I do? What a man like me can do? Well, I have no political power. I'm not a multi-billionaire like Trump. He could pull that off because he had the means. I don't have that. I'm just a simple pastor here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. What can I do? But the thought came to my mind, maybe run for office. And what was chasing you yesterday, you will be chasing tomorrow. I don't want to stand in front of you as a victim. I'm not the victim. I'm a victor. I came out of this ordeal standing strong with my head high. But I have tasted corruption. For the past 17 years, I faced those evil, wicked people over and over and over again. And I stood tall, and I'm still standing tall. And they could not bribe me. They could not break me. And here I am in front of you. And I say this to you. If you vote for a man like me, if you take that chance, I'm telling you, I'm going to take the biggest broom that there is in the province of Alberta. Maybe the biggest plunger that there is. And I'm going to clean this swamp. And I'm going to need you to help me to do it. I don't know if I am to say thank you or you have robbed me from time. Do I have still some time or no? That's it.
You still have about a
Standing
minute.
ovation
About a minute.
stolen.
Yeah, that's it.
So here am I standing in front of you, and I'm not going to pretend I am a professional politician. Far from it. And if I ever become a professional politician, come and kick me in the butt. I don't want to be one. I'm not looking for a career. I love to be a pastor. I love to feed people. I just wanted to be left alone, but they would not leave me alone. So if that's the case, you have enraged a very, very angry lion. And I'm coming after them. Thank you.
Catherine?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed this evening, and one of the things that I've really also enjoyed has been the touring around that I've done, and I spoke about it a little bit earlier, and the people that I've met, because I want you to know that you're not alone. And you need to understand that, right? And I think what we're demonstrating here today is that we truly are capable of doing things differently. You have two individuals here that are able to joke in a debate. We have two people here that believe fundamentally in many of the same things, right? But at the end of the day, this person has to lead Alberta, right? And so ultimately, the decision is going to be hard, I think. Because when people understand, and they've followed myself as well and Pastor Art, they know the advocacy that we've been doing. They know that we've been, speaking at these rallies. They know, they've seen me, just as they've seen Pastor Art. But I think what we need to do as Albertans is we have this, dare I say, and I don't want to say, and I don't say it disparagingly, a little bit of an echo chamber here, right? We have people who have believed this and understand it in their bones, and that's likely why you're here today. But we need to reach all of Alberta. So how are we going to do that? We need to have a leader in this position in the next Alberta, in a new Alberta, that understands what it means to read this legislation and to make a new constitution. And we need a leader who understands that we need to be able to reach many, many, many people, right? Because we have a big job to do right now. It's not about just preaching to the choir. It's about reaching Albertans and making them, bringing them along and getting them to understand that they will truly be better off in a new Alberta. They will have more money in their jeans day one. You know, when we stop paying federal income tax, just think about that with respect to your paycheck right now. Just think about that. Half of my paycheck goes to the federal government right off the top. Just think about what that will look for you. And you know what? That is going to be for everybody. And so I think when you're making this decision, and I think it's going to be a difficult decision, I would want somebody that you know that you can trust, that is as fierce as a lion as Pastor Art, but also has the ability, I think, to actually get the job done. Thank you.
Two amazing candidates.
We got some lions here.
I think this is like a Kodak moment here, I think.
Look
You
at
guys
this.
can hold that.
We've got 4-foot banners and we've got 6-foot banners, folks. There we go.
Yeah, a little bit of a plug. We are selling those.
Yes, we are. So, those banners are 50 and we got even bigger, longer ones for 75. And all the proceeds go into the Independence Party because we have more to buy. And we want to spread the word all across Alberta.
Thank you, everyone.
So One more.
just to wrap things up quickly.
that's right. One more big applause for our wonderful candidates. Catherine Kowalczyk, Arthur Pulowski. Thank you. Okay. Now, and thank you guys for joining us this evening. And for partaking in this wonderful event for creating a new future for Alberta's answer, the Independence Party. And please, reminder, get your memberships if you haven't already. They are $20
Peter's got
for 3
them.
years.
Peter's got them.
Come talk to Peter or at the back table. Show other Albertans that you are part of this movement and do it with a membership. And tomorrow, we will be in Olds at 3 p.m. At the Pomeroy Inn. And I believe we will also be live streaming that event also. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors. And with the provincial election coming up in the spring of 2023.
That's only 9 months away, people.
That is not far. So we need to spread this message long and far. And we want you to help us grow and get that message out to every Albertan.
You guys are amazing just being here. We know you guys could be doing other stuff. I've talked to even Peter. He's supposed to be harvesting right now, and he's here. So clap for Peter.
Peter's from Northern Alberta. He's from
Absolutely, up in Lacrete. So yeah, plant the seeds for other Albertans and let people know that you were here. Don't be afraid to tell people that, right? And if you think you're not a leader, the fact that you're sitting in these seats and watching this online or even recording it, no, you are the true leaders in the province, and it's you who will ultimately create the change that we need in this province or country, if you know what I mean. So thank you very much. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.